Going to the other side.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome to stream. So we are not really doing anything too special tonight for per se, but just kind of looking at a few things and work from there. So just trying to find some specs on stuff real quick. So something I've been wanting to do for a while has been like to create like custom actual gates. And I know that they won't snap to the fences, but that's part of it at this point. So basically, I'm just gonna kind of work on that this evening. Figured doing a live stream would kind of help promote it on the channel. You know, if people had questions, they could kind of watch through it and see and stuff like that. So for this evening, I am using Blender 3.4, I believe is the version. I'm sure the version number's here somewhere. I'm just not sure where it's at. Oh, here it is. Yeah, 3.4.0. So, first thing I generally do is change units. It defaults to metric, which is, it goes by meters. So, I'll change it to imperial. Depending on the project, I'll go feet or inches. And I'll kind of show you guys how there's an easier way to figure that out. So, I'm just going to leave in feet for this evening. And we will get started. So you can go Control A to like pop up the like. Actually, that's the apply tab. It's not what I was meaning. It's Shift A. Brings up the add menu. It's been a minute before since I've been in Blender, so you'll have to. I might mess a few things up, so bear with me. So you can either go Shift A and bring up the add menu, and then mesh and cylinder, or you can just go here and go mesh and cylinder. So from here, we're just going to go through it. So really for a steel post, I don't really need 32 vertices. Depending on the size of the post is I'll kind of bounce between 24 to 16-ish, once again, depending on the size of the post. More vertices, better look, but that's also more poly that you're adding, which isn't a ton, but it's enough that it makes a difference in the long run. So for this one, it's going to be like a 6-inch post, so we'll go 24. Radius, so if you don't know basic geometry, radius is the point in the middle of the circle to the edge. So basically it's half of the true width of the circle. So right now it's set at 1, so the actual circle itself is 2 feet. So we need 6 inches wide. So then we need 3 inches on the radius. So then to get inches better, you can actually go 3 IN for inches, and Blender will automatically do the math in feet, so you don't have to try to convert constantly. I see a lot of people always trying to convert feet to inches, and it just doing it this way is so much easier. So depth wise, generally I just take it to 8, and then we'll just base it off of that. So this is actually a massively large pole. If we're hanging 16s on it, it'll work. So actually we'll put 2 10s on it, but still. So now that I have this one pole created, what I'm going to do is just get basically kind of just create a little basic outline of what my gate will actually look like. So in this sense, we're going to be, so our x-axis is the red line, our yellow, or our y-axis is the green line, and our z-axis is the blue line, which you can't see because it runs up and down. So in this sense, we'll work like this. So positive x is to the right. That works better for me. So in this sense, x would be the width of the gate, so 10 feet for this example. And then y or z correction would be the height, which is 50 inches. So I'll go 50 in. And that's basically the basic outline of the gate. So right now as it sits, it is dead centered in my Blender experience per se. I'm actually going to narrow this down like 2 inches just so it's not ginormously big. But that's not really where I want this quote unquote gate to be. So what I'm going to do is, so we know that it's 10 feet wide. So for it to be 10, or for the edge of it to line up here, it'd have to be offset by 5. But really, I'm actually going to go 5 feet and a half. And I'll kind of explain that in a minute. So we're going to just move it to the positive x direction as it's easier. So what you can do is go 5 feet first, and it'll automatically move it over 5 feet. You can hit plus 0.5 and I will combine those two values together. Once again, much easier to do that than figure out the decimal for half an inch in feet. So, and then of course I just kind of move it up. So it's 50 inches. Generally, it depends. I try to figure out where the height sits on it a lot of times. So right now it's sitting at like 4.38 feet high, and it is 0.2 off the ground. So really I'm going to push that up to probably 6 to 8 inches off the ground. So since it's 50 inches tall, if we go here to 25 inches, that's going to put it flush with the ground. So then if we want to raise it up, say 6 inches, then we can go 6 plus 6 and I'll automatically move it up 6. So tips of the trade that will really help in the long run on saving time. That's honestly how most of us modders can get crap done, is just by little shortcuts instead of just constantly trying to convert stuff. So so now that we have this gate here, now we need to figure out where to basically say put this post at. So basically gonna use kind of like welded hinges for the gate, so we'll model those up here in a little bit too. So as this sits here, then so as you can see, it's a little bit shorter than the top of the gate there. So it's 4 feet, or it's 8 feet tall. So that means there's 4 feet positive, 4 feet negative. And this should be 56 inches tall. So what I will do in this case is I'll actually go here, click on this top, or go into edit mode, click on this top face. I'll go Control S, and then you can hit cursor to select it, or just hit 2 on the numpad, and it will put that cursor at the top of that face. And here's the reason I do this. So now that we have that there, we want to basically move this post by to where relative to where that top face sits. So if we can move our anchor point to that face, then it'll give us a better idea of where we're positioning the post at. And so that's kind of what we're going to do. So now that we got it up there, if you right click on the mesh and go to set origin and then origin to 3D cursor, it moves the origin or anchor point, whatever you want to call it, to where the cursor sits. And it's permanently there now. So it's dead center in this face. So now that we have that there, now we're going to go and raise this up to 56 inches to help match the top of this gate so it looks flush. So we'll go to Z because that's the coordinate axis we are working, or axes that we're working on. And we know it's 56 inches, so we'll just type in 56 IN, automatically convert it to feet, and boom, off you go. So now what would be our top of the gate is now flush with our post. So now it looks a lot cleaner instead of having weird staggered post. So what else do we? So for this instance, I'm going to make basically a side of the gate that will come off. So like it's like basically your post. So basically what I'm going to do is just Control D this mesh, which is going to duplicate it. And then I'm going to go to here up to our x-axis because that's the axis we want to slide it on. And we're going to just add 6 feet onto the x-axis. So it moves it down 6 feet directly from this one right here. So now we can have two posts that we can kind of create a heavily braced H-beam on. So now, but if you notice now the fact that like our cursor's not centered, nor is it in the middle of this, so trying to get posts lined up would be kind of difficult. So if you click on this mesh and then you hit hold shift down and click on the other mesh, it will move the cursor to like where the center of it is. So, and then you can go shift S and then cursor to select it. So then it'll put it basically where the cursor is right there, and you can set the origin point to there as well. But that's not necessarily what we want because that's at the top. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click or multi-select those again, right click, and we're going to go to origin to center of mass. So it's going to move it basically to where the center of the mass of these two poles are. So now that we have it pretty much dead center exactly in this post. So now we're going to go and we'll create a new mesh. Actually, we need to go here. Set origin, shift S, cursor to selected. Boom. Now the cursor's there. Now we can create the side post. So go shift A, mesh, cylinder. I don't really want this to be as big as this, so I'm actually going to take it down to, we'll go 2 5/8 inch on the circumference. So if you don't want to do that math off the top of your head, you can go 2 in. Actually, the easiest way I figured out how to do this was just basically take your numerator or your whole number, then multiply it by the bottom. So then that's 16, and then add your 3 to it. So you have 19 over 8 inches. And then you'll just do that. And then that's going to make that post that radius. And then to get it down to the next size, so we want to go down to what's half of 2 3/8. You just can go hit divide by 2. Hopefully that's big enough for y'all to see. And then boom, that's done and set. So now we have our two big posts, and then we have this smaller post that we're going to use in between these two. So something else that I generally often do, instead of just manually trying to resize this, I use dimensions a lot. So I know that these two posts are 6 feet apart. So that post is going to have to, or the rail between the two posts is going to have to cover 6 feet. So I can go here to the Z axis, which is the up and down in this case, which is long ways. Let me just knock it down to 6 feet. And now it's 6 feet long. I'm going to hit Control A just to lock the rotation and scale, which zeroes it out. So all the values are 1. So whenever you try to manipulate it, it doesn't do weird things. So now that we have this done, next thing we're going to do is rotate it to get it to basically be perpendicular with our set post instead of parallel. So you can go R, and then I generally just go RY, which will rotate it on the Y axis. And if you type in 90 on the number pad, it will rotate it exactly 90 degrees. And now it looks really fresh and clean. So that is kind of how I do it. So now we kind of have this one rail that's sit here, which it's a little low for my liking right now. That might be 8 inches. Yeah. Okay. So that it's up 8 inches off the ground now, which is okay for what we're doing. So now that we have this done, I'm going to hit Control A and hit rotation and scale again, which once again, it freezes the rotation and scale values. So whenever you're trying to do stuff, it doesn't go wonky on you. So next thing we're going to do, which I just realized that I left 24 faces, didn't take it down to 16. Oh well. Is to basically array this cylinder up. So we can basically manually adjust it a little bit easier doing an array on it than we can anything else. So we're going to go and not use relative offset. We're going to use constant offset. And we're going to be working on the Z axis. So we're going to go 10 inches. I think 10 inches is solid. And then, so now that we have one set spaced out, that's exactly 10 inches apart. So now that we want to add more of these rails, we can go up and increase the count here. So now we have several different rails, and then you can move the point to where it matches up a little bit better on your rails so it doesn't look offset. So now that we basically have it over strengthened H-post set over here on this side. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back and click on our rails again, and then in your array or your modifiers, then where you selected your array, you can go apply, and it will apply this modifier to it, so then it doesn't also move around. So now we have this set post rails and another set post, but really this needs to just be one mesh so we can easily duplicate it and move it to this other side. So we can do that pretty simple, to be honest. So we kind of have overlapping meshes here. So like how this rail runs into this post. So that's actually giving us like extra stuff that we don't need within this post. So what I generally try to do is go to Boolean, or go to modifiers, which is the wrench icon, Boolean, and then we can go to union or intersect. Well, either one of those generally works. Actually, use union. Union adds them. Intersects only shows what's intersecting. So basically, we're gonna union the rails to this post for this time. So we have it selected, object. That's what we're unioning. Object, we don't have it selected yet, so we're gonna hit this little eyedropper, and we're just gonna select this post. So you can see now it's like duplicated the mesh, which we will fix that in a minute. But now it's all added together. So now we can just hit apply here and then click out of that. And so now we have this just random extra post here. And as you can see, if we slide it away, those two meshes are now joined. And there's not any weird intersecting faces. As you can see, like basically it looks like we cut that pipe with a torch. So you don't have extra faces. So I just generally do that. I think it does better performance wise, and it doesn't especially when you go to like texture and UV map this stuff, because then the joints will be a lot better set than if they were running into each other. So now we have this post. I'm just going to delete it because we don't really need it. We'll keep this extra one over here. So we're going to do the same thing here. So we'll hit the rails again, plus that post. Modifiers, add modifier, Boolean, union. I'll select this post and hit apply, voila. And then there we go. Nope, that's still not the post. There we go. And then I'm just going to move this back here just in case if we need it for some reason. But once again, as you can see, just a clean wireframe, not horribly complex. So less complex your wireframe is, easier it will be on the game. I can guarantee that. So now that we have that H panel done, what we're going to do is basically just copy it to go over here onto this side. So we're just going to, even though our scale is set, I do this very often whenever I get done editing a mesh, just hit Control A, rotation scale. That way so I know that it's set. And to get it directly on that side, you can move it directly on the x-axis, which is what we're going to do. Or you can mirror it if you want to. The only thing I have with mirroring is it puts everything in one mesh. So, which is fine in most cases. But there's sometimes like where I don't want them to be in one mesh. Say if I have to move something in, it's a little bit easier to manipulate the two meshes independently than having to move all the meshes together. So, once again, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to drop in the comment section. I will answer them as I go here. I don't know how horribly long I'll stay live this evening. I just wanted to get some live in and just do this stuff. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this again. So you can go Control D or Shift D. I don't know why I keep hitting Control. Control D will, I don't know what Control D is. But if you go Shift D, it will duplicate this mesh. And we'll just do that. To get it to bounce across the x-axis perfectly, just put a negative in front of the x-axis. Boom. It's over there, right where it needs to be. So. And yes, you might be saying that the legs on these are horribly in the ground. They're a little bit farther than what I would put them in real life, but basically the reason I do it like this is so if you put it on an incline to where like the edge of it drops off a lot, then it just won't be a floating panel per se. So that is why I do it. So now that we got our two H posts done, we're gonna basically go and make what would be our gate now. So we're gonna hide our practice gate. I will actually name it practice. We'll go practice gate, just so it's there still if we need it, and we know that it's different. So, and then we're also going to go here, flip around. We're gonna name this our right, our left underscore H post. And then we'll name this our right underscore H post. So now that we have our meshes named, they're not just cylinder 10, and it will help you in the long run naming your meshes wholeheartedly. I know there's some people that don't do it, but I believe in naming your meshes. It helps so much. So now we have that done. We'll go and start working on one of our 10-foot gates now. So this is going to be a 20-foot wide double gate. So that makes each gate 10-ish feet. So we're going to use the same size of pipe as we did as the rails in here, which is 2 3/8 inches. I just think it works better that way. So now that we have this done, we'll just kind of basically we'll move it to close to the center, but not the center. Because basically these gates won't actually overlap. They will just chain together in the middle and voila. So I'm going to move it like, we'll go 3 inches positive X direction. So, which is the center. So there's really going to be like 2 inches of room between the 2 gates, which is fairly typical for what we're doing here. So now that we have that moved, I'm actually going to manually change where I want the bottom of this gate at. So I'm going to actually click on the face here and do it within the actual edit mode itself. So make sure you're in global, because sometimes local won't look right. Like the numbers will be off. So I recommend always just being in global. It works a lot better. So then we already know that we kind of set our 6 to 8 inches to go up, down. So we'll take a look at 6 inches and see where it sits at first. I think 6 inches is a little low. So we'll go 8 inches. Once again, don't have to convert. You can just go 8 inches and it will automatically convert over to feet, because Blender is a Python program. So it's wonderful. So we know that the bottom of this face is at 8 inches. That doesn't necessarily mean that's where we want that face at, because I want the actual bottom rail to be at 8 inches, not the bottom of that face. But we'll fix that here in a little bit once we get the rail actually in. And then the same thing on top here. We're actually just going to take it up to our additional 56 inches on the top. So I just go 56 IN, it's already there. So basically now kind of in line with our gates or our H post, to where this bottom rail should be, the bottom rail will be a little bit higher than the bottom rail of the gate. Just because it's a little bit easier to push a gate up. So lower you have that gate, less likely they're going to try to push it. This is kind of set in the ground by 4 feet of steel post. So more you know. So now that we have this done, we're working on a 10-foot gate. So theoretically, in my head, every 5 feet, I try to put a support bar that goes upwards and downwards. That it depends on who's doing your gates. Last summer I welded like 40 different gates up, so I got pretty familiar with how to place these posts. But first, what I'm going to do is figure out exactly where I actually want to place the end of this gate at. So we're going to make some custom hinges for it, of course. Basically, I'm going to want these gates to swing kind of not all the way back, but like close to where there's like 30 to 35 degrees between the gate and that, which I don't actually know if I can draw that out or not. Yeah, I don't know how to draw that out, so we just won't worry about it. So because I think you can actually draw it out if you're in edit mode. I think I have that plugin. Blender kit, edit, tool. Yeah, add-on. I'm not gonna worry about it. I know what height I need stuff to be at, so we're just gonna get off a measurement because we don't really need it. So most of the time I just kind of eyeball it and just see how I feel about it, and then we'll kind of go from there. So I think that's relatively close to how I want this gate to be. So instead of creating the entire gate, now that I kind of have my 2 start and end posts done, I'm going to make my hinges just so if I need to move something around, I can without having to deal with like the entire mesh of the gate, if that makes sense. So I'm going to actually start at this post. So I'm going to go right click, set origin to center. Then we're going to go shift to move the cursor to the center of it. And then we're just going to go add mesh, and we're going to create a little cube here. So I just generally just make basic hinges. I don't really do anything fancy per se. I just don't really do it. I'll try to find a picture of what I want to do. Steel hinges for gates. And a lot of it depends on like where you're getting your hinges from and stuff. Because like when you type in steel hinges for gates, it really brings up like fancy things. But so this is basically what I generally try to use. So basically it's just a little nut that runs in there, and then you have your two faces that kind of go on each other. So basically the rotation point of the gate would be within the middle of this hinge. That's what I do anyway. It just kind of depends on who you are. So most of the time I try to put like the 3 anchor side on the gate or on the post, and then the 2 on the gate, but it just depends on how I'm feeling. So we're going to go and see if we can figure out how. It's 6 inches high. Try to figure out the how thick this hinge is. I believe it's the 11/16. So I'm gonna go to in and make sure you're on item up here. And basically what we're gonna do is on the x-axis we're gonna squeeze it down to the size we want it at, which is 11/16 IN, because we're in inches. Which, yeah, that works, I guess. These posts look small, but it's the right size. So now we have that kind of done. So that entire hinge is a 6x6 square per se. And the middle of that hinge area really, it takes about an inch. So then that means we have 5 inches to put those 2 inches together. So then each side of that hinge is 2.5 inches. It's just basic math in my head. I just do it so quickly anymore that if that's confusing, let me know and I will gladly explain it. So basically what I'm going to do is create one side of the hinge, and then we can just create the other side real quick. So Y is going to be our axis that we're looking at right now. And it needs to be 2.5 IN. Just type IN, boom, you're dead. You're good to go. And then on our Z axis, it's currently at 6 feet. It needs, or 2 feet. It needs to be 6 inches. So we'll go 6 IN, or you can go 0.5 if it's in feet, if you feel like confident enough to do that. So now that I have that done, I'm going to move it to pretty close to the edge of this mesh here. Not to where it's sticking out, because we'll do the same thing we did on the H post a minute ago, but enough to where majority of that 2.5 inches is outside. And then I just kind of eyeball where I want to actually put the hinges. So I'll generally try to put one between the top gap of the rows and the bottom gap, which is going to work well here, because that lines up pretty well how I was thinking. So now that we have that done, I'm actually going to go here to edit mode, and we're going to set the cursor to this face. So now that we have this done, we're actually going to go and go cylinder. We know it's going to be 0.5 inches as it's a 1-inch steel. And we're going to move it out a little bit as well. So now that that's done, we know that the bar of this thing is 6 inches tall. So we need to get 5 quote unquote cylinders in that 6 inches. So generally I'll just divide 6 by 5, and that should generally get me where I want to be at. 6 divided by 5 IN gives us 0.1 feet. I don't That's apparently right on 0.1 feet. So it's a little bit taller than an inch. It's like an inch and a fifth. But now you can kind of really see where like it's cutting out. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep it to where it's just barely on the edges. So technically, like, you would just run a weld right down the edge of that. It's what you would do. So now that we have this done, I'm actually going to go, we're going to see what 1 inch looks like. So then we'll duplicate that and we will move it up 1 IN. It should, actually we'll go, not just 1 IN, but we'll go 1 plus 1.1/5 is 0.2. So we'll go 1.2 IN. And then we can kind of adjust based from there. So then we'll go again, plus 1.2. And generally these middle two hinge points are a little bit bigger than the 3. From what I've noticed, from what I've worked with anyway. Did I duplicate this already, or I just, yeah. So then this time we'll go minus 1.2. Whoops. Minus 1.2 IN. And then we'll duplicate that again and go negative minus 1.2 IN. So now we kind of have our 3 areas of hinges at here. And like I said, I generally just go in and try to like make these a little bit bigger. Just so that like it looks kind of like the hinge, because like when you look at the picture of it, I took the file down. Downloads. You can tell like these are a little bit bigger than the other sides of it. So I will just manually just change it off of everything, just because it's what I kind of know. So, and then kind of get that look to it, which I think looks pretty good for what we're doing. And then to get the bolt in it, I'm actually just going to, actually we're going to edit these bottom ones real quick. I'm just going to make it a little bit shorter than that. That way, so when we go to union it, it has a clean edge to union off of. So, and basically how I put that bolt in is I'll select the top one, I'll select the bottom one, go to Control 2, cursor to selected, and we'll put the cursor right in the middle of those. I'll go to add cylinder. Be like a 0.75 inch bolt. So it'd be 0.75 divided by 2 IN. And since you really won't see it, I'm going to take the poly way down on it. That way so it's still there, but you really won't see it very often. Depth will also be 6 inches. And then voila. So, and then basically to make it look like it's an actual bolt, I'll just extend the heads up a little bit. And that's basically one side of the hinge made. So now that I have this done, what I'll do is I'll go and I'm going to put these middle 2 onto the gate side. So I'm going to select those 2 and then select this mesh here. Actually, what I'm going to do first is make sure that everything is to scale. So I'm going to go click on everything and hit Control A and go rotation scale. So now everything's 1:1. I'm going to go there, add all that. Basically, I'm going to actually join these 2 together first. So we'll go there, Boolean. So now they're joined together. We'll go here, hit apply, and now we have that mesh, and then we're going to union it to, and see, like I said, now we have extra meshes popping up, but we can always delete those after the fact. So we're going to click those, and then we will go back to our modifier, go Boolean, union again, and then we'll see which way I want to go here. Which way is the cleanest? That looks pretty clean. So then now that's all just one piece. So then you just hit apply. I generally just click on it again, delete that, voila. Actually, don't delete that, just hide that. I don't know why I wanted to delete that, because we'll use it in here in a minute. So we still have this origin point there, so I'm actually just going to go and hide that and then bring this back up. What we're going to do is we're going to set the origin point of this to there. So we'll right click, go to 3D cursor. So now if we rotate this hinge, it will be based on this point here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and get a straight overview of it from the Z axis here. Then I'm just going to go here and we're just going to rotate it to outwards like this first, and then we're going to show this other mesh, because theoretically these two meshes would not be like hitting each other per se. So now we have like this mesh, and it should be, we're just going to change it to 90 degrees on the Z axis. So now it's been out 90 degrees. So if we actually wanted to kind of mimic this here real quick, we'll set this all to the cursor. This would be kind of the movement of the gate post as it kind of moves to open. So it kind of overlap onto onto itself, so it doesn't stick out. So like if you're mowing hay or something, like if you open a gate, it could be out in the field, so you don't have to like open and close it all the time. You just leave it open. But now that you might notice that, oh hey, it's not lined up to how it should be lined up, and that's okay. I do it all the time. I've had to change things quite a bit. I generally like to keep 90 degrees as a solid base point, just because it's known that 90 degrees holds more weight than most things do. So generally what I'll do is I will just select the post, and we'll just kind of move it back per se. And we'll just go back in here and select this and just rotate it and make sure that like it's not going to look horrendously bad. So right there would be pretty close to the max angle that we could open it. Which is a lot closer than most things are. And you can always flip this hinge around to where it's on the back side of this post. You might have to make your gates a little bit longer. Actually, we'll probably do that. I kind of like that idea a little bit better. Off the top of my head. So basically where like the gate will be offset to this side. So I'm going to go get another overhead view. We'll go shift all that. Should picked up all of that. And we're just going to go here, rotate that all 90 degrees. It's 90. We'll move it back to here. Then we'll leave it right about there. So now that we have that done, basically we will just kind of remanipulate the pole back to where it should be per se. Most of the time I'll just do that manually, honestly, at this point. I mean, I'll figure out like the X, like the Y offset, which is this. So then I'll just go there, Control C, go there, and we'll just actually just set the origin to the center of the mass, and then we'll just go there, paste it so then it's perfectly aligned, move it back, and voila. So now whenever you go to open the gate, the posts stick out that way, they rotate around. Whoops. Shift S2. Go there, go there. Shift origin to cursor. Okay, now we can rotate. So now it will be perfectly lined up instead of sticking out. So, and it's going to put the same amount of weight on the pole. Especially since these are only 10-foot gates, they're not going to weigh near as... Now, if it was a 16-foot, I would take it straight off. Just because they weigh a lot more than 10 foots. Because basically your pole can absorb more weight pulling it in this direction than it can pulling it in that direction. But since the way this hinge is set up is the gate's going to be closed in this potential, which is still going to pull majority of the weight in this direction, or when it's open, majority of the weight's going to be pulling in that direction, not necessarily pulling to the side, because most of the weight's going to be on the end of the gate. So now that we have this quick little hinge thing created here, go there, hide that again. So there's the gate side hinge. And once we get the gate actually truly built, I will go in and union this as well so it gets rid of all the edges. And then we will go here, we'll select this hinge plate, and we will select this top, actually go here, select those cubes, and we'll just Control J. It works for what we're doing right this moment. So Control J will join meshes together, but it doesn't delete unneeded faces. So like if you have like meshes like this where there's not going to be any faces interacting, then you can do Control G or Control J to join them. But as you can see, I'm going to just go right back into here, make sure that, you know, everything's set to zeros so it doesn't mess anything up. So now that we have that selected, I'll go to Modifier, Boolean, Union to this piece of metal. You'll look at wireframe, and you can tell that there's not any excessive edges within it. It all cuts off and it doesn't overlap. So hit apply, we'll go back out to that, and then we will just hide that hinge. So now the hinge is pretty much done. I will join the bolt to this mesh because it's resting on those metal. So in a sense, it would rotate. It would probably rotate because it's pulling on this metal and not that metal. And the friction force here would hold it. So I'll just go here and go back to Modifier, Boolean, Union, click this. You go to here again and you can tell it's got rid of all the excessive faces within it. So apply, just go back out to solid. Now you have an extra bolt as well. So fun times always, you know. So, well, I said it had an extra bolt. I lied. Okay, let's try this actually again. So we're going to take this, Boolean, Union. Okay, I think that worked. Yeah. So I'll hit apply that time, then we'll go there and do this. And then now we can hide the bolt, and now it's all put together. So basically, we have two pieces of the hinge, and the gate will rotate on this axis point. So it will make it pretty easy to say, oh yeah, it just rotates this direction. So basically what I'm going to do now is just select both of these. We'll hit Control D to duplicate, Shift D, not Control D, hit Shift D. And we will just go here and we will move it down to pretty much between those two posts. That looks fairly good to me. So now we have that done. I'm actually going to go here and delete this post. It's just easier to duplicate this one and slide it down to where it needs to be. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go back and just select the origin to 3D. Set origin to the mass of the object. That way so it's not weirdly set. And then we'll just hit Control or Shift D, good 90. And move it over, and then we'll go 2 inches. Said 3 inches earlier. So, and we have that done. Now what we'll do, or what I'll do, is I'll select both these posts and go origin to the center, and then we'll go Shift S to cursor to selected. And that will put the cursor in the middle. So if I go here and hit Shift D, and then I right click and hit snap to cursor, it will automatically move that post to the middle of that there. So that is that basic right there. Basically what we'll do now is we'll just put the rails in for the gate. So I'll just go Control D on this middle one, and it's supposed to be about 10 feet. So we'll increase Z to about 10, and we'll hit Control A just to lock the scale. And then we're also going to rotate it on the Y-axis by 90 degrees to make it perpendicular to what it should be. The gate's going to be a little bit wider than 10, and that's okay. So now we have basically this set up here. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this here. We're going to figure out the X location. So it's 10.5, that number there. I'll hit Control C to copy it. And then we'll go here, go to edit. Actually, I'm going to make sure rotation scale's locked. Go there. We're going to paste it into here. So what that's going to do is it's going to take the end of that face and put it directly in the middle of this pipe. So now that it's in the middle of that pipe, we can go and union stuff together. And then it will delete the faces that are inside that and merge those two together. So now we have that end done. We're going to do the same thing to this side. Go here, select this top face, go there, which is 0.25. I can just type that out to be honest. And we will select that, 0.25, boom, right in the center of that post. And then voila, we have that done. We're going to move this post down to, we wanted it 8 inches. So now we have this rail set at 8 inches above the ground. What we'll do is we'll go here to these end rails and we'll move them down to 0.55. Just so it's a normal number, not some weird 0.55. So now that that's done, what we'll do is I will Shift D this again. We'll move it up to the top. And what I'll actually do is I'll go here to basically and just try to line the pole up to where the top of those posts stick out just a little bit. And then we'll shrink this bottom one down into there. So that's actually going to be on the Z axis. So we'll copy the Z values from this pole. Go there. Paste those. Boom. So basically now we have the outline of a gate. What I'm going to do is we'll go Shift D. That way so it's a completely separate mesh. And we will raise it 8 inches. And we can kind of mess around with it as we go. So we'll go back to our array modifier, which is when you're doing stuff like this, it's very handy. And we're going to go back to our 10-inch spacing and just see what it looks like. See what we can't measure it out as. So that looks pretty darn solid, to be honest. Bottom's a little bit tighter how it is in real life. Top's a little bit tighter than I would like, but it will. So we're just going to hit apply, boom. Basically now we have this gate panel done. And then I generally try to like create like where the weld piece would go in at over here. So I'll generally just try to go there, put the origin there. We'll go here, cube. We'll just make it 3 inches by 3 inches. We'll go 1 by 1/4 thickness. So basically now we just kind of have this like steel platey thing. And then I'll just tab into edit mode. I'll go to the face here. Actually, we'll just go to those. We'll hit delete vertices. And I'll move this back out. So now we really only actually have 2 faces. But if you go here, select that vertice, select that vertice, boom. We'll do the same on this side. Select, nope. And I don't know what I just did there. Okay, that was weird. Select, hit F to fill that line in there. And we'll switch over to line mode. Boom, select that face, select that face. We will make sure we are 90 degrees with this face. Hit F. We'll go to this side. Select the edges. Make sure, once again, we're 90 degrees. Hit F. And I'm going to select all 4. You don't always have to, but I generally try to. Just in case if something doesn't line up right, it can give you issues within your mesh. So I'm just going to move it to kind of this corner here. And leave it there. I'll go Control S2 or Control S2 or Shift S2. Good nighty. And put it there. And I'm just going to go here and basically duplicate that on a plane. Another cube here. We're going to just rotate it 45 degrees. And we will make the x-axis 0.25 IN. Whoops. 0.25. Golly. 0.25 IN. And we'll make Z 2 inches. Actually, we'll take this up to 1 by 3 IN. So basically what this is going to do is it's going to make our chain, basically where you would insert the chain at on this gate to like keep it shut. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that it's rotation scale set. I'm going to go here and go to Boolean. We're going to hit difference this time because we're going to subtract this mesh from it. And we'll hit apply. Boom, that's done. We're going to rotate this 90 degrees on the y-axis to give us this side, and then we're actually going to shrink. We'll go here, 45. Control S. And we'll go to 3/4 inch. No. 5. Sometimes you just gotta guess measurements because like I don't know all this off the top of my head because when I get these, they're already pre-cut out of this stuff, so I don't have to make it. So we'll go there, and we'll just rotate it back 45. Actually, we'll move it down. We'll select this face. Control S2. We'll snap this to the cursor. Go 45. Make sure it's not going to clip anything weird. That would probably be a little bit tight, to be honest. 1.25. That works. That looks a little bit better. So then I'm going to hit Control A, go rotate, or Shift A. Actually, no, this is Rotate A. Control A. I need to get the keyboard thing so y'all can just know what I'm hitting. And then just go back to Union or Boolean, difference. Click that, hit apply. Boom, you got a little chain hole now. And then most of the time I'll try to like bevel this a little bit just so it's not. I don't bevel it by much because like I don't want to add poly on for a little detail like this, but just a little bit to like not make it so sharp. Kind of the same thing on this edge here. Just so it looks, because like that's kind of how they are. They aren't sharp. So then that's there. We'll just delete that. We don't really need it anymore. So that's done. That's its own piece now. So basically what we have done now is we have this entire panel for the right side done. I'm going to be wrapping this live stream up here real quick. But we'll finish out this panel. This is going to be a project that I literally stream on. So like I will do live streams about this project itself. Just kind of teaching you guys kind of how I do stuff. Because this is fairly basic. I feel like. So we'll go through Blender. We'll hit Substance Painter. We'll do all the scripting and all that stuff as well. So it'll be definitely a little bit of a longer process. I will probably duplicate this project and I will finish it. And then I'll have that project where we can work on it at the same time. So that is done. Now we will go and we will union all of this wonderful stuff together. So what I am going to union, we're going to make sure that everything is set in rotation and scale. Whoops, I don't know what I did there. Oh, it froze the point. That's fine. And then just make sure that everything's set to how it should be. So when we go to merge everything together, there's not any weird meshes, which everything looks to be. Okay. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to just go and how I want to do this. We'll Control J these endposts together. So that way they are now one mesh. And we will select all the rails and hit Control J to add all those as one mesh. So instead of trying to put 5,000 different meshes together, it's a little bit easier to do it now. So you're welcome, Lucky. I just figured something else a little bit different than gameplay all the time. Plus, y'all don't really want to see me driving a tractor with a controller currently, so it's kind of funny to watch, but I don't want to be laughed at. So, but yeah, I'm just gonna try to. I probably should make videos of this, but I feel like live streams a little bit better because I don't have to edit it, and it's a little bit slower. People can kind of go back and see, you can ask questions. So if someone in the video is watching it, they might have the same question. Look at the comments. So, and I can always make a recap from a live stream from this anyway. So, So what we will do is we'll have the support post as our main mesh, and then we'll go to modifiers, Boolean, Union, and we will select those, and it's gonna fazzle out and do this thing where it duplicates the mesh, and it's perfectly fine. I promise it's perfectly fine. If you just click on it, you can go and hide it, and now you just have all one mesh. And now you can see why I do this, because like the joints look so much better than they perfectly intersect, and there's not. It will look a lot better when you UV map it doing it this way, because it will take this and make it one instead of having it all weirdly UV'd out. So we'll go back here. We will add the hinges to it. So I'm going to go here, go Control J on those hinges. Since they are separate meshes, don't have to worry about weird issues. Just go here to set origin to 3D curse. Actually, set origin to mass. And then we'll make the gate our main mesh for this instance. So then we'll go back to Boolean, Union, select that. We'll select that, and we'll do its duplicate thing again. Hit apply, go there, hide that mesh. Now that's all meshed together as well. So I'm going to call it a wrap on this one. We will focus on the other side the next time I do one of these. So like I said, I will probably work ahead and finish these just so I can have them, because I kind of wanted these anyway. I just figured it's something basic to show. So if y'all don't have any questions, I'm going to end it here. I do appreciate you guys hopping on. Hopefully this helps a little bit if y'all are into like this stuff. I know some of you guys like watching gameplay, and I'm sorry I didn't play the game tonight. I'm trying to diversify my feed a little bit to get watch hours up. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to holler. You can always reach out to me in my Discord. I try to respond to comments on YouTube videos and Facebook. Sometimes not as easy as it seems. But yeah, other than that, if you guys have any questions, feel free to holler. But if not, I'm gonna bug out for the evening. I do appreciate y'all watching, and I hope you have a good evening Tuesday, and I probably won't stream again till Friday, so have a good week, and we will catch y'all Friday